We continue now at the top of Daf Mem Dalet Amud Aleph in Meseches Bava Kamma. This is Bava Kamma Daf 44a, and the previous Amud the Gemara is discussing the halacha that it doesn't matter if a shor kills a person that's an adult or a person that's a minor. In all situations, the shor is going to be stoned. And the Brisa learned that from a pasuk, but then the Brisa said, "What do we even need a pasuk for? It should be obvious." And the Brisa continues with its argument: shor ba'adam. When it comes to shor killing a person, sha'asa bo ketanim kegedolim. There, it doesn't matter if the shor is a minor or if the shor is an adult. That makes no difference. So eino din. So isn't it logical? That certainly the shor should be chayiv whether it kills a minor, whether it kills an adult. Rashi explains, shor ba'adam sha'asa bo shor katan ahorek, a shor gadol ahorek. It doesn't matter if the shor is a minor that kills or the shor is an adult that kills. That doesn't matter. To hashor ben yomo kari shor, whether the shor is even 1 day old, it's already called a shor. The chsiv, as it's written, shor o kesev ki valid. It says shor in the pasuk, again talking about when it was just born. So eino din shechayiv bo skila al tino katan kal adam gadol. Certainly even on a small baby, the shor is going to be chayiv skila. The shor will be stoned, just like if it kills an adult. And so the Brisa continues, but lo imamrid adam ba'adam, but not necessarily, because when it comes to a person killing another person, when it comes to a person against a person in general, shekain chayiv be'arba devarim. So there, if you're trying to learn out from a person to a situation of shor, but it's different. By a person against a person, there is a concept of daled dvarim. You have to pay not only nezek, but also tsar, ripo, shavis, and boshes. Tomer b'shor, whereas when it comes to a shor, she'eno chayiv be'daled dvarim, there is no daled dvarim, so maybe shor is different. And maybe we would say a shor killing a minor, maybe you don't stone that shor, and therefore the Brisa says, Talmud Lomer, that the pasuk says, Oven yigach o bas yigach, it says ben and bas, it's talking even about minors, l'chayev ala katanim kegedolim, we say chayev whether it be minors, just like if it is adults. And Rashi explains, shekein chayev ben izakan arba devarim, again there's dal devarim, when it comes to people, shashor pater mehen, a shor doesn't pay that, v'nezek lo chashav, we're not talking about damages, to hashor nami, nizka mashalim, a shor pays nezek, we're talking about the other four, the dal devarim besides nezek, meaning tsar, ripo, shavis, and boshes, that applies only to people, it does not apply to animals. And the Brisa continues, ve'ein li ela b'muad. Now I only know that's true when it comes to a muad. As Rashi says, ve'ein li ela b'muad, the krab b'muad ksiv, this pasuk about the animal killing minors is written by a muad, betam minayin, how do we know to apply this by a tam as well? And the Gemara says, dinhu, it makes sense, it's logical as follows, hoel v'chayev b'isha v'isha v'chayev b'ben ubas, since there is a chiyav when it comes to a man and woman, and when it comes to a son and a daughter, meaning it doesn't matter adult or minor, makash chayev b'isha v'isha, just like when it comes to the chiyav by a man and a woman, lo chilak bo bein tam l'muad, there we don't make any distinction between tam and muad, we say that a tam is put to death as well. Afkash chayev b'ben ubas, the same thing is true by ben and bas, by minors, lo tachluk bo bein tam l'muad, you don't make this distinction between tam and muad. And the Gemara continues, V'yod kal v'chomer, and further we can make the following kal v'chomer, ma'ish v'isha, when it comes to man and woman to adults, shekein hora kocham b'nizak, and they have a weaker position when it comes to damages, but lo chilak debo ben tam l'muad, but we don't make a distinction between tam and muad. So bein ubas, when it comes to the son and daughter, to minors, sheyafa kocham b'nizak, and they have a strong position when it comes to damages, eino din, doesn't it make sense to say, shelo tachluk behen ben tam l'muad, that we should not make a distinction by them between a tam and a muad, again talking about a situation where a tam or a muad attack a minor. And Rashi explains, Shahora Kochan ben Izakan, again, when it comes to adults, they have a weaker position by damages. Dim Hiziku Mishalman, meaning, simply put, if they do damage, they have to pay. Whereas when it comes to minors, Yafe Kochan, Dechera Shotavikatan, Pigiyasan Ra, when it comes to a deaf mute, when it comes to someone who's deranged or somebody who's a minor, so if you get an exchange of injuries back and forth with them, it's actually bad for the other person. They have a strong position. Meaning, Hachovel Behen Chayiv, if somebody wounds them, that person is Chayiv. Vehein Shachavlu Bacher, but if the minor or the cherish or the shot, if they damage, if they injure others, Peturin, they're actually Pater. And that's what it means to say they have a stronger position when it comes to Nezikin. But the Gemara says, V'chidonin kal michomer lahachmer. Are we able to make a kind of kal v'chomer like this, a kal from a chomor, in order to be more machmir? Rashi explains, V'chidonin kal michomer, meaning tam mimud. What we're learning over here is, we're learning tam from muad. We're saying just like a muad is put to death in a situation where it kills a person, so too that is true by a tam. Lahachmer ala kal, we're going to say that in order to be stricter when it comes to the more lenient one, to name, because what are we saying? We're saying as follows, Kihechi dechomor chayiv, just like the situation of the muad is chayiv, kal nami chayiv, also the lighter one, meaning the tam is also chayiv, dekadarash, because what was your drasha? You said as follows, dekadarash tam mimud by memwatzinu, you did a tam from muad with the following memwatzinu, dekatani chayiv bi'ish v'isha, v'chayiv bebenu bas b'muad, because it says that by an adult and by kids also, there's going to be a chiyuv in terms of a muad. To a chiyuv de ben ubas b'muad hu techsiv, because the chiyuv by the son and daughter, by the minors, is by muad. V'kohamrit ma chiyuv de ish v'isha asabo tam k'muad. And then what are you saying? You're saying just like by ish v'isha we treat a tam like a muad, af ben ubas nasabo tam k'muad. So too by ben ubas we also treat a tam like a muad. V'shtakach, so it's turning out to kayalaf to tam imud. You're learning tam from muad. Dilo ashkachas chiyuv de ben ubas b'muad. If you didn't find the chiyuv of son and daughter by a muad, lo have yalaf to lay betam ish v'isha. You wouldn't have learned it out from ish v'isha. To have b'muad gufe ilav de ravinu kra lo motzes laisinu midina de le'el. Because by muad itself, if not for the fact that the pasuk included it, we wouldn't have been able to learn it out. And so therefore, again, how can you learn out something that's more lenient, but you're being strict by that case? And the Gemara continues, if you say this is true by an ish v'isha, shekein chayavin b'mitzvahs. When it comes to ish v'isha, so they're chayav in mitzvahs. Tomar ben ubas shepetur min mitzvahs. Whereas when it comes to ben ubas, they are patur from mitzvahs. And Rashi explains, if you say that by ish v'isha, kilomar, meaning to say as follows: the kal v'chomer de derash nami, even the kal v'chomer that you're making, b'seif at the end prichu, that kal v'chomer can be refuted. The amamrid b'ish v'isha, because by ish v'isha, there it's different. They're chayav in mitzvahs in a certain sense. Ish v'isha are stronger than ben ubas, and it makes sense to be strict by ish v'isha over ben ubas because they're chayiv in mitzvahs. And so the Gemara continues, since we really can't learn it out from this Kal V'chomer, Talmud Lomar, the Pasuk says, we learn it from the Pasuk, O ben yigach, O bas yigach, it says either the son is gored or the daughter is gored, Negicha betam, Negicha b'muad, we learn out from there whether it's gored by a tam, whether they're gored by a tam or a muad, Negicha l'misa, Negicha l'nizaken, it applies whether it's a situation where the animal kills the person, whether it's a situation where there are damages. And Rashi explains, Talmud Lomar, O ben yigach, O bas yigach, yigach trei zimni. The point of the Gemara is it says it twice. The ribola Negicha l'muad, ulatam l'misa u'l'nizaken. We learn out that it applies by muad and tam, and by misa and by nizaken. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah, shor shayim eschachich bekoso, if a shor is rubbing up against a wall, v'nafal ala adam, and it falls on a person, niskaven l'harugas abehim v'harugas adam, if it has intention to kill an animal and instead it kills a person, l'kanani v'harag ben Yisrael has intention to kill a Kanani and it kills a ben Yisrael, a Jew, l'nafalin v'harag ben Kayam, it has intention to kill a non-viable baby and instead it kills a viable baby, Potter in all of these situations, we say Potter. And the Gemara says, Amar Shmuel, Shmuel says, what does it mean Potter in the Mishnah? It means Potter mimisa v'chaya b'kofer. What it means is that the animal is Potter, we don't kill the animal, but still there's a chiyav of kofer, the kofer payment has to be made. Rav Amar Rav says, Potter mizeh mizeh, it really means to say Potter from both. And Rashi says, Potter mimisa is Potter from misa. Why? The halonis kavon, there was no kavana, there was no intention. The amina lekaman, we say later on, kamisas bailim, that it follows the misas bailim, meaning just like when a person, if he does it unintentionally, that person is not killed. Im harag kain misas ashor shaharag, the same thing is true by the axe. Just like the person would not be killed in such a situation if it was not intentional, so too by an axe, the axe will not be killed in that situation. However, Shmuel says, v'chaya b'kofer, there is a chiyuv to pay kofer, the darshin and kofer, im kofer, lahavi shalo b'kavon, as we said earlier, we make a drasha im kofer, that includes even if it is shalo b'kavona. However, Rav said again, v'rav amar potter mizeh mizeh, Rav said potter from both. Kedidarish Rav alel ashor yisakel kozman shashor b'skila ba'ilem mishalman kofer. Just like we darshaned earlier, it says ashor yisakel only if the shore is getting skila. Only then do we say that the owners pay kofer. And the Mesoras Hashas notes over here, tzarach lomar Rabba, it shouldn't be Rava, it should be Rabba. That was Rabba's opinion earlier on. And the Gemara continues via Mai, but why is that the case? Hatamu, aren't we talking a situation over here where the animal is a tam? Rashi says, V'atamu afilu laman dorish im kofer, meaning even if you darshan im kofer, hani mili lemuad shalo b'kavana. That's if a muad kills, shalo b'kavana pays kofer. V'haitamu b'chichuch zeh, but here we're talking about a tam because this is not something that it does regularly rubbing up against the wall. It's considered to be a tam. Why would there ever be a chiyuv of kofer in this case? And the Gemara answers, Kedama Rav, it's like what Rav said, B'muad lipol al b'nei adam b'boros, we're talking about a situation where the animal is a muad to fall on people in boros and pits. And Rashi explains, B'muad lipol al b'nei adam b'boros l'kamon, this explanation is given later on, B'shor shenogach esapora, in shor shenogach esapora, hachanami here also, B'muad l'schachech al b'nei adam b'ksalim. Just like over there in that context, we were talking about a case where it was a muad to fall on people in pits. Here also you say a similar idea. We're talking about where the animal is a muad to rub against the walls and to cause damage to people in that fashion. And the Gemara says, well, Ihachi, if that's the case, Bar Katalu, then really you should be killing the animal. Why are we saying you're not killing the animal? It sounds like it's something that this animal is mu'ah to do. And the Gemara says, Bishalama. So now I understand over there, the Chaza Yerok of Anafal, the case over there is that it saw a vegetable and fell. Elahacha, but over here, Ma'ikal Amemar, what are you going to say? And Rashi explains, Bishlama Hasam Gabe Shor Shanafal ala Adam Bebor. Over there, in that case later on, we're talking about an axe that falls on a person in a pit. Equal Terutze Kidimitartzin and Hasam. You can answer, like we said over there, the Haidelo Katalinan Leb and Gichos Rishonos. Well, why didn't we kill it the first times it was doing these gorings? Could go in the Chaza Yerok of Anafal Shalo Bekavana Alze, Shara Esa Besoch Piabor. It saw some kind of vegetable, some kind of grass in the pit. Ubali Ochlan, and came to eat it, Vinafal, and it fell. Elahacha, but over here, Hoel Muad Lakach, since over here it's a mu'ah to do this, my shalom eskavinika, what do we even mean to say that it's shalom eskavin? What does that mean to say it's unintentional if it's a mu'ah over here? And the Gemara says, no, hachanami here also, b'mischachich b'kosel, so it's rubbing up against the wall, true, and it's a mu'ah to do this, but it's doing it for its pleasure, it's doing it for pleasure purposes, and therefore it's not considered to be intentional. And Rashi says, hachanami d'chazina le d'mischachich la'anaso v'lo l'hapilu. If we see that it's doing it for pleasure, it's not doing it in order to cause it to fall on the person. And the Gemara says, now from where do we know? How do we know it's doing it for pleasure? The boss or the nafal comes chachach, because even after it already falls, it's also rubbing against it, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Mem Daled Amud Beis.